Have you ever wondered how a massive national budget full of numbers and jargon actually affects your life and your future? Well, today we're going to connect those dots. We're diving into how Malaysia's Budget 2026 is set to redefine what a university education even means, and we'll see it all through the lens of one university's really bold response.
So let's start with that big question. How does a national budget shape your future? The answer really is in the money. A budget is so much more than a spreadsheet. It's literally a blueprint for the future. It doesn't just move funds around. It sends powerful signals about which skills are going to be in high demand, who gets access to the best training, and what kind of jobs will define the next generation.
All right, first up, let's look at the big picture, the national strategy. Malaysia's Budget 2026, or Belanjuan 2026, isn't just some routine financial update. Nope, it's signaling a huge, fundamental shift in the country's entire economic philosophy, a whole new direction.
And here's the core of that change. For a long time, the approach was centered on subsidies, which is really a form of short-term aid. Now the country is moving to a new approach, people-based empowerment. The focus is shifting to building long-term skills and what experts call human capital. It's that classic shift, from just giving a person a fish to actually teaching them how to fish.
And what's the number one tool for this big empowerment push? You guessed it, education. This isn't just some side project or an afterthought. Inclusive education is being positioned as the main thrust, the absolute central pillar of this entire national strategy.
And this isn't just talk, there's real action behind it. The budget is throwing its weight behind technical and vocational training, what's called TVET, along with specific programs like MySkills and a Skills Enhancement Fund. But here's the crucial part. There's a huge focus on making sure these opportunities reach everyone, especially vulnerable communities and what's known as the B40 group. That's the bottom 40% of income earners.
The strategy also gets that learning doesn't just stop with a degree. The world is changing way too fast for that. So the budget is actively supporting continuous learning for adults already in the workforce, using modern tools like e-learning and micro-credentials to help keep everyone's skills sharp and competitive.
Okay, so the national direction is set. But how does a university on the ground actually respond to that? To figure that out, let's zoom in on our case study, Université Sains Islam Malaysia, or USIM for short, and see how they're aligning their own plans with this national agenda.
And USIM's response is really impressive because it hits on multiple fronts. In their academics, they're baking future-ready skills like AI, big data, and sustainability right into their syllabus. In research, they're pivoting to focus on high-impact social issues that people are dealing with right now, like the cost of living and cybersecurity. And they're not forgetting soft skills. They're boosting training in leadership, communication, and digital integrity because they want to produce graduates who are not just employable, but truly valuable.
But this is where USIM's approach gets really unique. They aren't just adding a few tech courses and calling it a day. They have what they call a special recipe, a core philosophy built on the integration of Nakli and Akli knowledge. So what on earth does that mean? Let's break it down. Think of Akli as the rational, intellectual knowledge you'd find at any university. We're talking science, math, engineering. Nakli, on the other hand, is the revealed, spiritual knowledge that's rooted in Islamic principles. USIM's entire mission is to synthesize these two, to weave them together, to develop a more complete, well-rounded human being.
And this approach creates a totally different kind of graduate. It's the difference between being just intellectually smart and being intellectually smart and spiritually strong. The end goal isn't simply to produce another skilled professional. It's to produce a principled and resilient professional, one who is guided by a really strong ethical compass.
So how does this actually work in a real class? Well, it's basically a three-step process. First, a student learns all the technical principles of their field, let's say finance. Then, in step 2, the curriculum infuses that knowledge with core Islamic values, like trustworthiness and a commitment to excellence. And the result? You don't just get a finance whiz, you get an ethical, values-driven professional.
And all of this, the national budget, the university's response, that unique philosophy, it's all leading to one ultimate goal, melahirkan graduan masa harapan, which means producing the graduates of the future. Everything we've talked about is aimed squarely at this one objective.
The official term they use for this goal is holistic human capital. And really, this is about moving beyond the old idea of just creating cogs for an economic machine. The aim is to develop people who can be agents of positive social change, critical thinkers and skilled professionals who are also deeply grounded in strong moral values.
This quote from the source material just captures the whole vision perfectly. The goal is to achieve an economy that is not just productive in numbers, but also prosperous in values and morals. It's a powerful idea. The ultimate prize isn't just a bigger GDP. It's about building a better society through an economy that thrives on values, not just numbers.
So, as we wrap this up, we're left with a really compelling question. What we're seeing is a huge bet that fusing technical knowledge with deep ethical values is the best way forward. So, it makes you wonder, is this synthesis of intellect and integrity the true key to balance and sustainable progress, not just for one country, but for any nation? That's definitely something to think about.